everybody, thanks a lot for joining me for this postpartum vlog. I got a really great response, an amazing response from the last video I did at 2.5 months, and I just want to thank you so much for that. It was a really long video and just a lot of details on what life has been like with a baby, and that was pretty much going like from start to 2.5 months. I did have a blog post at the 1 month mark, but I just was really excited to see that the information I shared was useful to some people out there. And I really haven't been planning to do these at the half-month marks, but that's just kind of the way it's been working out with when I've had time to shoot them. And I'm really glad this one is happening when it is, because we went through a bunch of travel around Christmas time, and I thought I really gained a lot of insight on what works and what doesn't for traveling with a little baby. So I thought I could share a lot of that with you in this video, and just some general updates as well. If it sounds like I have a cold and I'm a little nasal, it's because I do have a cold. I think I'm getting maybe to the tail end of it now, but it's really crazy because it's been well over a year since I've been sick. I was not sick with anything during my entire pregnancy, so that was a long span of time, and then now right at the start of the new year I get my cold. I've put some notes here on my phone. The other night I was just kind of jotting some things down to help me keep on track somewhat with this video, but Belle is doing great. She is just a little over 3.5 months right now. I tend to post a lot of pictures of her on Instagram, and I have an embarrassing amount on my phone that I don't post, that I hold myself back on. She's adorable. She gets cuter and more animated every day, it seems. I love hearing her little voice. I feel like she's going to have kind of a low voice. And I don't know if I mentioned this in the other video, but I know Tyler's mom had commented when she heard her cry, like she said, wow, she's got kind of a low cry. And the more I hear her, and when I hear little peeps of her voice now and then, I think, wow, that does seem a little bit on the low side. So that'll be kind of cute, I think, if she has this low raspy voice for a little kid. But anyway, I want to talk travel first, because what we did, honestly, the thought of it totally freaked me out before we did it. Tyler's parents recently moved to Texas, and so from where we are in southern Illinois to where they live, which is kind of east of the Dallas area, it was going to be like a 9-10 hour drive for us, and that's like kind of thinking about driving time alone, but even more when you've got to factor in the stops that a baby requires to feed them, you know? And so when Christmas planning started coming up, I was actually kind of going through a time where Belle was feeding so much more frequently, and I have been breastfeeding her. If you haven't seen my previous post or previous video where I talked very in depth about breastfeeding, but I was feeding her like on an hourly basis for a period of time there. I don't know if that was a growth spurt or what the deal was, but it was just so frequently, and I remember thinking about, oh my gosh, I'm so scared to travel with her. At that point in time, like the furthest we'd taken her is like 10 minutes this way or 10 minutes that way to like go to Target or, you know, go to a doctor's appointment or something like that, and she didn't always even handle those little trips well. And so to be honest, I was just kind of terrified to, you know, get her in a car and think, what if she starts, you know, just bawling uncontrollably, and when they're in that car seat, I mean, you can't just pop them out, you're gonna have to pull over. And another kind of intimidating thing is just thinking about all of the things that you're gonna need to pack and take with you. You know, all the things that a baby requires. So, you know, you don't want to forget anything, and just never having done this before, I was just hoping we could get along okay. And so we were traveling pretty much for a week's time. We went down to Texas on a Sunday. We stayed there for a couple of full days, and then came back on Christmas Eve. And so we made it back home to southern Illinois on Christmas Eve, and then Christmas morning took off north north to West Central Illinois, which was about a 5-6 hour drive, and we stayed there from Christmas Day through the Sunday after. So it was like just a whole week basically being either on the road or somewhere different. One thing I will say is I started to get a lot less nervous about the whole thing once I completely planned out like everything that we needed to take and kind of got a list going on my phone. I am definitely like a comfort list maker. Once I've got my list and kind of planned everything out, it just made a little more sense to me, and I felt a little more confident in, you know, having everything we needed. And so I'm not going to share with you like every single thing we took, but just some of the things that I think were especially useful and really kind of mattered. A couple of our friends who had taken a big road trip had said that it was useful to have like a big tub of just your, you know, diapers, wipes, just those baby essential items. That's what we put in our tub. I bought like a pretty decent sized like Sterilite tub from Walmart and just put plenty of diapers in there, way more than we needed, extra wipes, and also Ziploc bags. Ziploc bags are a great thing to have with you because if you have some kind of a situation go down, some kind of messy spit up, or just any kind of mess while you're driving that you need to deal with, a Ziploc bag where you can put, you know, your dirty paper towels and wipes and stuff is great to keep the scent at bay, and, you know, you can just throw that away the next chance you get. And I kept diapers and wipes and stuff in the diaper bag as well, but just having that nice big container for when, you know, you got to your destination and you could just bring that into the room you were staying in and there's all of the stuff you need, that was really useful. Also, I assume that a lot of diaper bags come with one of these. Maybe they don't, but a changing pad, just something you can grab out when you're changing on the go, whether it's in your car or, you know, maybe just the room you're staying in and the baby needs to be changed right there on the bed. A lot of people might use this just around their house anyway, but the changing pad, I found we were using that a lot. A roll of paper towels, just keeping that in your car. There were a couple of times where she had spit up fairly significantly. And normally we don't have many post-feeding spit-up issues with her. It's good to bring snacks and water for the adults so you don't have to stop as frequently. I didn't ever want to be the reason why we needed to stop. You know, if we really got on a roll traveling with her, I wanted to be able to take advantage of, you know, her sleeping, and so we did definitely grab for snacks and water so we didn't have to stop for ourselves. And she really did get into some good lengthy naps on the road. She slept a lot more than I expected, and overall the whole travel I think went much better than I thought it would. But, you know, there were some times where she started crying. You know, we were getting close to feeding her, but I couldn't really anticipate when exactly she was going to want it, and she starts crying, and we didn't immediately have a place to pull off or, you know, an exit to take to get off the interstate. And so those moments were kind of frustrating, but one thing that I think is really good to have is if you got an iPad, Baby Einstein. If you pull up, do a YouTube search of Baby Einstein videos, there's like one, I don't know if they're all puppet videos, I haven't really watched that much, but there's one really long one on there. Maybe I'll link to it below, and it's puppets and it's very, very simple, but she will get mesmerized by that. And so there were a couple times where she was kind of in freak out mode, and I turned that on, and just the sounds and, you know, whatever she was seeing there, she really was keeping her eyes on it. I could see her following what the little characters were doing, and I thought that was a really good distraction for those moments where we needed it. Another great thing to take with you, a pillow of some sort. I took my breastfeeding pillow with me, but I found I didn't really use it. It was a little bulky for the area I was sitting in the car. By the way, I was sitting in the back seat beside her the entire time, and it was just easier to have a bed pillow there, basically, to kind of prop my arm up with, or, you know, just kind of help cushion around her when I was feeding her. And I'd say she was feeding probably every 2 to 3 hours on the road. Burp cloths, I would have taken even more of those than what I packed. Extra outfits, extra blankets for the baby, but don't forget to take extras for you as well, because there may be some times where you're the one getting the mess on you. I packed definitely, you know, a couple extra pairs of pants and extra shirts. So those were some things that were great for travel. I think the experience overall, like, I think we learned a lot. Our comfort level went up a lot, just feeling like, okay, okay, we can do this. You know, we took her about 10 hours away and had no major crisis situations. And going up to my parents' house, that was the shorter trip. That was the 5-6-ish hour trip. We also took Cupcake with us for that, and she's a good little traveler too, so I was really happy that that all went well. But just a few notes for being away from home, sleeping away from home. It's great if you have a rock and play like we do, because those fold up so nicely, and then they're able to sleep in the same thing that they're familiar with. So I mean, we used that both places we went. It worked great. As far as feeding away from home, I think it's kind of important to find a quiet space to do it. I mean, as far as nursing her, I don't feel self-conscious or anything to do that in front of people or in front of family especially, I guess. But one thing that I noticed when we first arrived and it was time to feed her down with Tyler's family, there are a couple of younger kids of his brothers, and they're kind of running around and, you know, having a great time and being super cute and everything, but definitely loud, and that's something Belle has not experienced before, loud little shrieks and stuff like that. And so I'm sitting down kind of in the corner of the living room area to feed her, and I'm noticing, you know, she's coming off so frequently, and she's just kind of looking around, and I'm thinking, gosh, she's distracted, you know, she's not used to all this noise. And so I think, don't feel bad about, you know, needing to go to a quiet place to feed her. There were a few times while we were down there where I was able to feed her, you know, out in the living room area when it was quiet, but when it wasn't, I just, you know, took her straight back to our bedroom and fed her there. And I noticed a profound difference in the way she fed. You know, she was, you know, latching on, staying there, feeding very normally again. And as far as sleeping goes, you know, if things are still a little loud when you're putting the baby to sleep, we did use a white noise app. There was the sound of a vacuum cleaner on there, and we turned that on, and it really helped when we put her in the bedroom at the end of the night. And I think that totally helped her drift off to sleep, and also helped to drown out some of the kind of unusual noises to her. We don't use that all the time, but I think being away from home, or if you're in a louder environment, that helps a lot. And just another kind of observation on being away from home and being with family, take advantage of all those, you know, family members and people who want to hold the baby, want to take care of her. I think there's kind of an instinct there, especially being away from home. You almost feel like, okay, you know, now we just got settled here, I should be holding Belle, because, you know, she's my baby and I want to have my hands on her again. But at the same time, you know, chances are you're among people who don't get to see her near as much, and they want to be with her, number one. But number two, once you get home, you will go back to having like all of that responsibility again. So take the opportunity to have some fun, you know, like when we were back at my house, played some Jenga, played some Scrabble, let mom, you know, hold her and rock her to sleep over in the bedroom, and, you know, you have some fun. So that kind of wraps up my travel story. I hope that wasn't too lengthy and boring for you. And just some other things here, some other updates. I pumped for the first time. Probably would have been a couple weeks before Christmas time, because we had some parties coming up, Christmassy parties for like Tyler's law firm and different things that we were doing, and I just thought, gosh, it would be really nice to have a pumped bottle handy for these times, you know, just might make it a little more convenient on us. And also just me going out Christmas shopping, being able to leave that here with Tyler in the house. And I really feel like we went a long time before doing that. I'm not saying we couldn't have done it sooner, introduced a bottle, but I really am kind of glad we held off for a good chunk of time, just so she got really good at the breast. And I do really like the pump that I have. It's an electric pump by Philips, Avent or Avent. It's like the white and lavender color, and it seems to be working really well for me. But it was interesting, the first time we actually presented her with the bottle, I think Tyler maybe had read online that sometimes, just for lack of confusion for the baby, let somebody other than the mom give that first bottle, and she was slow to take it at first. I remember we had just gone to his Christmas party, and we thought we were going to run out to the mall and pick up a few things and maybe in between there give her the bottle, and she was just not having it at first. She was, I think, angry, hungry. She wanted what she knew, you know, she wanted what she was accustomed to at that time, and so needless to say, we didn't do any shopping after that party. We went back home, gave her a chance to calm down, tried again with the bottle, and you know, once she got going with it, it didn't take long. She sucked it right down, and it went very well. So it's just nice to know that, you know, if that's what we need to do under any circumstances, she will take the bottle, and it just gives me a little more freedom if there's something I need to go and do. You know, we have that breast milk on hand, and I've started getting a little bit of a freezer stockpile going of some, but I'm definitely no pumping pro or expert by any means. If you've got any suggestions for me or any questions for me about it, let me know specifics, but that's just kind of a brief wrap up of the pumping situation. And breastfeeding, I do feel like it continues to get easier. I think I had mentioned in my last update that things were really improving, and now definitely so. I can tell, first off, her mouth has gotten bigger. She's growing, obviously. She's just getting a much better instinct to open wide, even without me having to. I mentioned last time the little trick of sort of tapping on their chin and getting them to pull downward that way. And I noticed she started doing this while we were on our trip. Even when I was feeding her in the car at times when we were stopped, she was just opening really wide right ahead of her feeding, and it wasn't just one of those like kind of open and close type things that she used to do, but she was really opening wide, holding it. I was able to get her on in a very good position, and that's just helped tremendously in getting her the deepest latch possible, but also, you know, much less pain associated with this for me too. I do remember reading very early on when I was Googling frantically, why does breastfeeding hurt kind of stuff, and I remembered hearing from someone who said, you know, if your nipple is large and the baby's mouth is small, one of the things you might just kind of have to wait it out for them to grow a little bit so their mouth can better accommodate it and they can get the best latch, you know, on the areola. And I gotta say, the bigger her mouth gets, the wider she's able to open up, the better this whole situation has been for me. As far as sleep goes, she's sleeping usually really consistently. I would say 7 to 8 hours at night. It's been awesome. She's definitely gotten up to that 8-hour mark here. She slept great while we traveled too. I mean, once we got her to bed, which didn't tend to be too much of a task. Like I said, the white noise I think helped a lot, and I was kind of worried about that, like disrupting her sleep or, you know, getting her out of her normal sleep routine, but she was sleeping through the night every night that we were gone, and then when we came back home, that definitely continued. As far as during the day, more awake time, I'm noticing, you know, her naps are less frequent. I don't know that she's really on a napping routine. I don't know if babies really get into that, but you know, she'll sometimes fall asleep here and there after a feeding for a little while, but I feel like she's spending a lot of awake time during the days and wanting to play, wanting that stimulation more. She likes the play mat. I've found kind of a good situation for reading her books. She likes to lay out on a blanket a lot. She loves blanket time and just being able to kick and, you know, move around and just have somebody talking to her right there in her face. But if I lay down beside her and then I hold a book up like over the both of us, and she will look right up at that and really study, you know, like what she's seeing there, and likes to see the page turn. And I see when I turn the page, you know, she kind of refocuses on it all. Nice to just kind of get her into that routine of reading books. I loved looking at books when I was a little kid. I think we are starting to see some of the beginnings of teething. I'm not sure, but I'm noticing a lot more drooling, sometimes some unexplained fussiness, and it seems that she wants to chew on something, like chewing on her hand more. She has found her thumb, by the way, and is starting to do that more, but it's so funny because when she sucks her thumb, like all her fingers go up here, like around her eye, and I'm like, don't poke your eye out. But we have gotten her a few like teething things. There's something, I think they're called soothimals or something. My mom has gotten us a couple of these ones, like a little pink giraffe, and there's a duck, and she does kind of like like sucking on those. She's never really been into the pacifier thing. Like there was one occasion where she would suck on the pacifier, but she's more into sucking on her own hand, or like I said, one of those little animals. Sometimes she'll take to that. But I'm just sensing, especially with all the drooling and stuff, that we may be into some early teething stages. And I leave you in this video with a cry for help. Any tips that you have for clipping the baby's nails? I clipped her skin a little bit and it bled and I felt so awful, and Tyler did it too, like you know, a few weeks before that, and I just like, why is this so hard? You really think you're getting in there on it, and then you realize you're not on the nail, you're on the skin. It's just, it's so hard, and I don't know if like little manicure scissors are the way to go, or if some of you just like to stick to filing them. I feel like filing might, I don't know, I feel like that would take a while and maybe not remove enough of the actual nail that I'm trying to get off of there. So I don't know. If you've got any tips for clipping the baby's nails, it would be much appreciated. But if you guys have any more questions, that anything I didn't cover, please let me know in the comments section. Again, I talked much more in depth about my breastfeeding experiences and some of the challenges I had with that in my last video. But thank you guys for watching and just being a part of this journey with us. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you later. Bye.